back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Kackie and welcome to video number 2, not day 2. In my last video, I know I kept saying tomorrow as if there was going to be another video tomorrow, but these are every other day. I need to get it straight, just bear with me. But today is video number 2 of my 12 Days of Mindfulness series, and I hope you guys enjoyed video number 1. Again, there are like 95% of you who watch these videos who are not subscribed, so if you watch my videos and you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and hit the button down below and subscribe. Again, this is a great time to do it because we are going through this really fun series, so make sure you don't miss any videos coming up because this is a really good one. So what is video number 2 going to be? I teased it a little bit in the last one, and today we are actually going to be talking about the practice of mindfulness and what it is and what it means. It is a word, I feel like it's kind of the new minimalism in the sense that it's become this word that like everybody's just kind of like buzzing. It's just sort of this word that's everywhere right now. I never intended to kind of latch onto a trend. I found this sort of on my own because I needed help. I was very, very depressed. I was in a very bad place from my job to my, honestly, self-loathing, and it was affecting my relationship, it was affecting my body. I was feeling like I was just kind of like at a dead end, and I decided that I just had to make a change. And the way that I sought out change was from a really earnest standpoint. I think one of my biggest first steps was actually starting to go to therapy. I think everyone needs therapy, honestly. Everyone should go to therapy. This is not a luxury item. Like, everybody could benefit from therapy. It is just like thought management. I'm not gonna get into that too much, but it is essentially the way that I started down a new path. Because a lot of the ways that I was bogging myself down was by just kind of pursuing the same neural pathways over and over again and expecting a different result. And that's just because I was processing things through a filter of insecurity. I still do. Nobody's perfect, but a lot of reading and a lot of talking it out has really helped me find a way to think about these things in a new way. That said, mindfulness, what is it? By definition, it is essentially noticing. It is taking inventory constantly or, routinely of what's going on in your person. It's taking inventory of your physical person, your mental person, the way that you're reacting to your environment, things like that. I was on antidepressants for a long time, like antidepressant, anti-anxiety. You guys might have seen those videos in the past. Getting off of those things was a bitch. I will never do that again, but the whole thing that I found appealing about being on antidepressants was that the best way to describe it was that it put kind of a cushion between me and my experiences, not in a bad way, it didn't like numb me, it wasn't Prozac, but it just gave me time before I flew into some kind of reaction. Turns out, that's just kind of the poor man's mindfulness, okay? So you can actually train your brain and build in the skills to be able to do that without drugs, basically. And essentially what mindfulness does is it helps you put a cushion, a really gentle kind of boundary between you and your experiences so that you have time to understand how you're processing them and why you're processing them that way before you just react. Because most of our reactions have to do with these old neural pathways, basically insecurities and ways that we have learned to protect ourselves over time. So as kids or in previous relationships or the way that we were raised or anything like that, we've learned defense mechanisms and coping mechanisms in order to self-preserve, right? To just kind of protect ourselves. There are so many ways that those things can be helpful when you're in duress, when you're actually in a really bad kind of crisis situation. But the problem is, those mechanisms stick with us for a really long time, sometimes forever, and we have to consciously undo them so that we don't kind of build this really scary, threatening world around us. Like, we don't interpret the world as one big threat, because what do we do when that happens? We start trying to control our environment, we get angry when things don't go our way. Does this sound familiar? Pretty much no one is immune to this kind of process. This is not something that you're alone in. It's a very human, natural thing to do when you've been through different kinds of emotional situations, to build in a lot of mechanisms that can help you cope with them. And a lot of times they just outlive their usefulness. And so this is just essentially a way of taking inventory of those reactions and all of those kinds of pre-existing neural pathways so that we can begin to see our new experiences as what they are and grow into better adjusted human beings who are more equipped to deal with everyday life. So, what are the benefits of practicing mindfulness? We'll get into the ways that we practice mindfulness in the next video because that's a whole other can of really delightful worms, if such a thing exists. But today I'm going to talk about kind of the benefits and the appeal of it, and maybe that will motivate you to kind of start thinking differently about this kind of, spiritual woo-woo idea. A lot of people could easily write this whole mindfulness thing off as something that is unnecessary, but I would definitely argue, especially based on the last video, that this is an incredibly vital thing to begin doing if you want to be happy long term. So the number one benefit that I gain from practicing mindfulness every single day is energy conservation. So everybody knows that feeling where you get to work and you're like already done. You know what I mean? You're like, I'm stressed out from traffic, I'm stressed out from life, I'm stressed out from being hungry, I haven't had enough coffee, I've had too much coffee, there's crap going on in my life, I got a crappy email, I got a crappy text message, I have to go to a doctor's appointment, I'm not gonna get all my work done. It's just like, pfft. That uses up all of your energy before you've even gotten to something that you really need to accomplish that day, and for nothing. I mean, for nothing. That's just burned it up, We've all been there. Yet again, I am by no means ever going to shame you for falling into those very human patterns, okay? We have all been there, but we are also equipped with the tools and empowered to be able to actually stop doing that, which is so awesome because it can feel like a dead end sometimes. You're like, am I just not supposed to do anything? Am I just supposed to sit in bed all day? Like, that's the only way I'm not going to be in fight or flight mode? Like, I've felt that way before, just the anxiety and the stress and everything, and it's not even real stress. It's just like things that I'm perceiving as threats. Your brain is always going to find something to fixate on. It doesn't matter if you literally eliminate all of the stressors in your life, your brain is going to be like, your eyebrows are wrong. You know, fix those eyebrows. Holy crap. Did you put on a half a pound? Holy crap, you need to get that half a pound off. Like, if you've got that kind of like built-in mechanism in your brain, it's gonna find a way to keep going down that neural pathway. You have to forge a new path, or else it doesn't matter what you actually change in your outside world. If it's an interior issue, you gotta solve it on the inside. So, if you can practice mindfulness, if you can take your practice, I always do it first thing in the morning, and you can kind of take it with you for the rest of the day, you have taken the wheel. You've taken ownership of the way your day is going to go. That doesn't mean that you're going to be able to stop crappy emails from coming or stop people from stressing you out. It just means that you have claimed the right to your own sanity. It means that you have made the decision, at least for that day, that you're going to put your sanity first. And that means putting a nice, gentle cushion, a nice little empathic wall, right? Between you and the things that are flying at you all day, so that you're not just this porous, like vulnerable, crazy thing that's just like trying to survive through life. Like, you don't want to feel like you're trying to survive. You want to feel like you're thriving, That part of yourself exists. It gets riddled with nonsense so quickly if you haven't taken the time and the energy to give your day to yourself first. The way that results is, at the end of the day, you actually have the energy to do the things that you want to do, because you haven't allowed the world to riddle you with stress all day. You actually have done it on your own terms. And so you get home and you get to continue doing life on your own terms because you have actually conserved the energy. And it's an amazing difference when you can start to sort of put the pendulum in the other direction. Another big benefit of practicing mindfulness to me is actually mental acuity. Like, Mike and I were on vacation, and it's just kind of crazy how, like, the dog pooped, okay? The dog pooped, and we put it in a bag, and we left it in the snow at the bottom of the mountain because we were literally about to hike up a mountain for like 2 hours and then hike back down. And so we weren't going to carry the poop the whole way, but we were going to get it when we came back. So we get back, we're exhausted, and I have been suffering from like altitude sickness the whole time, and you know, we're just really, you know, in survival mode, and I remember to grab the bag of poop. It's such a small thing. And, well, the poop bag it was enormous. It's a small event, but it's that acuity. It's the fact that, like, I could still call on my mental reserves to have the presence of mind to remember to do that. You know what I mean? And I see a lot of that in my work, too. I'm just, just that little bit more acute because there's just not all this stuff clouding my brain. Like, sometimes I'm almost like, wow, is it too quiet in my brain? Like, it's kind of awesome. Like, I'm used to there just being like cacophony and chaos, and the fact that when I actually stop concentrating on something, it's just kind of quiet in my head. I'm still not used to it yet, but it's pretty cool. And that brings me to the third big benefit, which is you stop feeling like you have to multitask your brain all the time, and you actually get to be present in the moment. A lot of us are distracted by our phones, and I think that that's kind of like the big thing that we all, you know, call attention to, and it's a habit we're all trying to break. But even when we're not, we're really distracted by our thoughts and by wanting to control everything. And it's just like I was saying before, when you're trying to control everything, but you're stuck in a meeting or at work on someone else's time, essentially, you feel like you're actually gonna accomplish something in that other thing that you need to be doing by just thinking about it, by just wasting a lot of energy worrying about it and being like, well, you know, if I'm worrying about it, then that's helping the situation because it's gonna, I don't know, give me a head start or something like that. Like, and it's not going to. Plus, you don't know what just happened in the last 5 minutes of your meeting because you've been so distracted worrying about something that you can't do anything about right now. Mindfulness allows you to be more present right where you are because your brain is less full. And you don't have that just like chaotic cacophony in your brain of just like, well, what happens next and what did I forget to do? Future tripping, past tripping, just like everything that could possibly be distracting you from the moment that you're in. You can now be more present in your meetings. You can be more present in the actual execution of your work, which for most of us involves some actual serious thought. Either if you're a hairdresser, not to cut your finger, or if you're doing what I'm doing, not to spend a whole lot of someone else's money for bad reasons. And you can be more present with your friends. Like, you can be more present in social situations. Like, you can actually concentrate on your leisure time and give that to yourself and find it really fulfilling in the way that it's supposed to be instead of being exhausted by your own thoughts. That is essentially tying it up in a bow. The problem is actually in here. It is the chaos of your own unnecessary thoughts, and mindfulness teaches you how to identify that voice in your head that's saying a bunch of really unproductive stuff. And mind you, that voice will find anything to fixate on. Even if you were to remove every stressor from your life, it would still find a problem with something. It helps you identify that voice and just call it like it is. Like, hey buddy, I understand. You're just gonna sit there and chatter. You're gonna be crazy. But you know what? I'm over here. I don't have to listen to it. Like, I acknowledge that you exist. You're a pain in the ass, but like, I'm gonna be over here living my life like you do you. And that you don't have to be at the mercy of this guy all the time. It's incredibly freeing. It's a lot of work, but it's so worth it. And just kind of leaning into that a little bit more every single day in the practice of your mindfulness can make such a huge difference. And it's honestly what I have to thank for my preserved sanity, and also the confidence of knowing that I have control over my own happiness for the future to come, essentially. I'm equipped with the tools to make sure that I continue to be a happy person who loves herself and can continue to invest in herself. So, how do we practice mindfulness, or how do at least I practice mindfulness? We are going to talk about that in the next video, which will be 2 days from today. So guys, make sure that you don't miss out on that. Subscribe below, stay tuned, and I will talk to you in 2 days.